Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. If you ever take a night shift job and someone tells you, whatever happens, don't go into the basement, would you listen? Because the man in this story didn't. 3 nights later, he disappeared without a trace. The security cameras captured everything. What they recorded was so disturbing that the building was eventually shut down. So turn off the lights, subscribe if you love real-style horror stories, and stay until the end, because the final piece of footage changes everything. I thought the warning was part of some stupid initiation prank. The kind of thing older employees tell new hires just to see how long they can keep a straight face. At least, that's what I believed when I took the job. If I had known what was waiting for me beneath that building, I would have walked out before my first shift even started. My name is Daniel. I was 22 years old when this happened. I had recently dropped out of college, my savings were gone, and I was desperate for work. So when I saw an overnight security position offering almost twice the normal pay, I didn't ask many questions. The building was an old commercial property on the edge of town. 6 floors above ground. 1 basement level below. Nothing about it looked unusual. It was just another aging office building surrounded by empty parking lots and flickering streetlights. The interview lasted less than 15 minutes. The manager barely looked at me the entire time. He kept flipping through paperwork while asking strange questions. Questions that had nothing to do with security work. Could I handle isolation? Was I comfortable working completely alone? Had I ever experienced sleep paralysis? The last question caught me off guard. I laughed. He didn't. His expression never changed. After a few moments of uncomfortable silence, he simply slid a contract across the table and told me I could start immediately. That should have been my first warning. The second shift started normally. I completed my rounds. Checked every floor. Locked several offices that had been left open. Nothing unusual. Around 2:13 a.m., I was watching the camera feeds when every monitor briefly flickered. The screens filled with static. The interruption lasted only a few seconds. When the image returned, something had changed. The basement door was no longer closed. It was slightly open. Only a few inches. But it had definitely moved. I froze. I knew for a fact it had been shut moments earlier. I rewound the footage. The cameras had gone offline for exactly 11 seconds. 11 seconds. That was all. When the recording resumed, the door had somehow changed position. No one appeared entering. No one appeared leaving. The door simply opened. I replayed the footage again. And again. And again. The result never changed. I checked every access log. Nothing. No keycards. No maintenance records. No authorized entry. The system showed absolutely no reason for the door to have opened. For the next hour, I couldn't stop watching that monitor. The door remained slightly open. Motionless. Waiting. Every instinct told me to go downstairs and investigate. But another part of me remembered the janitor's warning. So I stayed where I was. At 3:02 a.m., the door slowly swung shut by itself. I watched it happen in real time. No person. No movement. Just the door. Closing. The following evening, I arrived early. I wanted answers. I started searching through old incident reports stored inside filing cabinets near the security office. Most of the documents were routine. False alarms. Maintenance requests. Broken locks. But then I found several reports mentioning something called sub-level storage. Every report described unexplained movement near the basement. Several pages had been removed. Others were heavily redacted. One name appeared repeatedly. Mark Evans. Former night guard. At first I assumed he had filed the reports. But the more I searched, the stranger things became. Eventually I found a personnel file. According to the company records, Mark had resigned unexpectedly. No explanation provided. Just gone. Something about that bothered me. So during my break, I searched his name online. What I found made my stomach drop. Mark Evans was dead. There was an obituary. Photographs. Funeral information. He had died 6 years earlier. Yet the incident reports carrying his name were dated only 3 years ago. I checked the dates repeatedly. They were correct. Which meant one of two things. Either the records were fake, or someone had been filing reports under the name of a dead man. Neither explanation made any sense. And for the first time, I began considering the possibility that something was seriously wrong inside that building. The third night was when everything stopped feeling explainable. By then, I wasn't watching the cameras because it was my job. I was watching them because I needed answers. I kept telling myself there had to be a logical explanation. Faulty equipment. Corrupted records. Some elaborate prank. Anything except the conclusion slowly forming in the back of my mind. The shift began quietly. Midnight came and went. 1 o'clock passed. Nothing happened. The basement door remained closed. The hallways were empty. Every camera feed looked normal. For a moment, I started believing the previous nights had been coincidences. Then, at 1:58 a.m., camera 12 froze. The image locked in place. A static frame. No movement. No warning. Just frozen. I immediately leaned closer to the monitor. And that's when I saw it. At the far end of the basement hallway stood a person. At least, I think it was a person. The figure was almost completely swallowed by darkness. Tall. Thin. Perfectly still. I had been watching the camera for nearly an hour. I knew nobody had entered that hallway. Yet there it was. Standing motionless. Watching. I zoomed in. The image quality deteriorated immediately. The figure became a blurry shape. Its face was impossible to identify. Then the feed refreshed. The hallway was empty. The figure was gone. No movement. No footsteps. No door opening. One frame it existed. The next frame it didn't. My mouth had gone dry. For the first time since taking the job, I genuinely considered leaving. But curiosity can be a dangerous thing. Sometimes more dangerous than fear itself. A little later, while searching through the security office, I discovered something hidden inside the bottom drawer of an old filing cabinet. A folded piece of paper. Yellowed with age. Handwritten. Across the top were 3 words. Night shift rules. I laughed when I first saw it. The kind of nervous laugh people make when they're uncomfortable. The rules seemed ridiculous. Never enter the basement after 3 a.m. Ignore voices on the radio. If camera 12 goes black, leave immediately. Do not respond if someone calls your name from downstairs. If the basement door opens, do not approach it. I read the list several times. Each rule sounded more absurd than the last. Yet something about the handwriting bothered me. The words weren't written as jokes. They looked desperate. Like someone had been trying to warn whoever came after them. I folded the paper and shoved it into my pocket. Then I tried convincing myself none of it mattered. I wish I had listened. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every monitor in the security office flashed red. An alarm erupted through the building. The sound nearly stopped my heart. Basement access detected. I spun toward camera 12. The steel door was opening. Slowly. Deliberately. No one stood near it. No visible person pushed it. Yet it continued moving until it stood completely open. A black rectangle at the end of the hallway. The radio crackled beside me. Static filled the room. Then I heard a voice. A human voice. Weak. Terrified. Help me. I froze. The voice sounded close. Too close. Some were walking hallways. Some were sleeping. All of them had worked overnight shifts. Then I found the newest photograph. My hands started shaking. Because the person in the picture was me. The photo had been taken the previous night. I was sitting in the security office. Looking directly at the monitors. Completely unaware. But that wasn't the worst part. Standing directly behind my chair was a dark figure, watching me. I never heard anyone enter. I never saw anyone leave. Yet there it was. A shadow standing inches behind me. My flashlight nearly slipped from my hand. I stumbled backward. And that's when I noticed an old VHS tape lying on a nearby desk. A label had been attached. Mark Evans. I found an old player and inserted the tape. Static filled the screen. Then an image appeared. A man sat facing the camera. Exhausted. Terrified. I recognized him immediately from the obituary photograph. Mark Evans. The dead night guard. His voice trembled as he spoke. If you're watching this, it's already noticed you. The recording glitched. Heavy static consumed the screen. Then Mark leaned closer. His eyes looked bloodshot. Sleep-deprived. Broken. The door isn't the problem, he whispered. The thing behind it is. The tape distorted again. Mark turned suddenly as if hearing something off camera. Pure terror crossed his face. Then he spoke one final sentence. Something comes through when it opens. The image froze. For a split second, another figure appeared behind him. The same shadow from the photograph. The tape ended. Silence filled the room. Then every light in the basement went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Emergency lights activated seconds later. Dim red illumination flooded the hallway. The radio exploded with noise. Hundreds of voices speaking simultaneously. Men. Women. Children. Whispers. Screams. Laughter. All layered together. I ran. Instinct took over. I sprinted back toward the security office. The voices followed me. Closer. 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 When I reached the monitors upstairs, every camera feed had gone black. Every feed except one. Camera 12. My heart nearly stopped. Because the camera showed me. Standing in the basement hallway. Motionless. Staring directly into the lens. But that was impossible. I was in the security office. Watching the screen. Yet another version of me stood below. Then the figure on the monitor smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. And stepped backward toward the open doorway. The basement door opened wider. Far wider than physics should have allowed. Beyond it wasn't another room. It wasn't another hallway. It wasn't even darkness. It was something else. A black void stretching endlessly into nothing. Shapes began emerging from inside. Human silhouettes. Dozens. Then hundreds. All standing together. Watching. Waiting. As my eyes adjusted, I recognized their uniforms. Security guards. Maintenance workers. Night employees. The missing people from the photographs. The people who had vanished. The people nobody talked about. Then one silhouette stepped forward. And I felt every ounce of blood leave my body. Because it looked exactly like me. The same face. The same clothes. The same terrified expression. It smiled. The radio screamed. The lights failed. And the footage ended. According to the police report, officers searched the building the following morning. They found no sign of me. No body. No evidence of foul play. Nothing. More disturbing still, official blueprints showed no basement beneath the building. The area I entered wasn't supposed to exist. Several days later, investigators reviewed the final CCTV recordings. Frame by frame. Second by second. And in the last visible image before the system failed, they noticed something. Standing among the silhouettes inside the darkness was me. Looking directly at the camera. Smiling. The building was eventually closed. The basement door was sealed. And for years, nothing unusual happened again. At least that's what the reports claim. Because 6 months later, a contractor working on renovations submitted a maintenance request. The report contained only one sentence. A sentence that was never explained. The basement door has opened again. And if that report is true, then whatever was waiting behind that doorway never left. Maybe it's still there, waiting for the next person desperate enough to take the night shift. And maybe that's the real reason nobody could ever explain what happened to Mark Evans. Or to me. Because some doors aren't meant to be opened. And some places aren't meant to exist. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because there are many more terrifying stories waiting to be told. And before you go, tell me in the comments. What do you think was really behind the basement door? Was it another dimension? A trap created by the building itself? Or do you think the narrator never escaped at all? Read through the story carefully. You might notice details that everyone else missed. And remember, if you ever find yourself working alone in an empty building at 3 in the morning, and you hear someone calling your name from downstairs, don't answer. But before you leave, take one last look at that final frame. The investigators reviewed it dozens of times. Most people focused on the smiling figure standing among the silhouettes. But a few viewers noticed something else. Something hidden in the darkness behind him. And once they saw it, they wished they hadn't. So go back and watch carefully. Tell me in the comments what you think was really waiting behind that basement door. Was it another dimension? A trap created by the building itself? Or was the narrator already gone long before he walked downstairs?